Hello everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Dashi Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China. Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, the founder of Dashi Consulting and its podcast China Paradigm, and today I'm with Laurent Le Pen. You are the founder of Omate. You have been in China for 12 years now. 12 years is a cycle in China. You arrive at one type of animal sign and you are back to this sign again. 12 years. And you started your business with something I'm very, very interested, and I think a lot of people will be interested by, a Kickstarter in 2013 in something which is the most difficult thing to do as an entrepreneur: hardware, products, and something which is very sexy, but few people deliver. Wearable as a service. I repeat, wearable as a service. We are more used as software as a service, right? This is more something we hear more, and you are offering wearable as a service. So this is a watch. Omate is a watch. You went from fashion to actually a working element, and you switch from something which is designed for fashion to something which is designed to kids and lone workers. And I had to Google what is a lone worker to understand what a lone worker is, and I believe you are going to tell us more about it. On Kickstarter, you raised $1 million in 2013, if I'm correct, at least what's on your presentation, which is very, very impressive. So I believe a lot to say. You are based in Shenzhen now, you are calling from Shenzhen, and you have been in Shenzhen for 10 years, right? Or 10, 12 years. You have spent your life in China, in Shenzhen. Thank you very much for being with us, Laurent. And what's Omate today? Size, revenues, if you can share, number of people working in the company. What do you do?
Cool. Thanks for having me, Mathieu. So here we are at our office in Shenzhen. We have a small auditorium, like meeting room. Omate, we have been around since 2013. Previously, actually, I come from the mobile phone design industry. I was working at a spin-off of Philips Mobile in France, in Le Mans, an hour from Paris. And in late 2007, the company asked me to move to Shenzhen. That's where was out of our industry, consumer electronics and telecom, mobile phone design. And back in several years after, 2013, I started indeed with a Kickstarter that was pretty new. And today, so we pivoted a few times, as a startup in that wearable world. But today we focus on wearable as a service, as you mentioned. We kind of created that term to explain what we do. Basically, we use our smartwatches, so the hardware, so telecom smartwatches connected to the telecom network over 4G, and we focus on people who need protection. So that allows us to basically cover several segments. That going from the kids, like this kid watch from 5 to 10 years old, which are used to locate or to communicate. Over a video call, for example, with their kids. And then I would say the opposite of the life spectrum, like the seniors, the 70 years old and above, where by using the same hardware, we design a new software and we connect it to some services, especially with insurance companies, telecare companies. So in that way, we can basically, when people press, the emergency button, we will extract the GPS location and we will trigger a video call with a professional call center. So that's a real professional service. While for the kids, it's more like a free service through apps that the parents can locate freely their kids. And in between, we have this other segment called the lone workers, where basically it's people working in a harsh environment or any environment where they can be at risk because they are alone. So it can go from the security to people working in construction, transport, utilities, etc. So that's the three segments today we cover. But Before that, we have been through different process. You mentioned like from actually our very first model was like a sport watch. After we moved to fashion, and finally to kids, and then and then to the seniors today, which represent about 70% of our revenue. So that has been a lot of change. And to answer briefly your question, so today we have 12 people full-time here, R&D side in Shenzhen, and we have a support team in Hong Kong and in Europe and in the US, where we can like support our customers locally, because most of our business is in the US and Europe, especially for the seniors and lone worker, and for the kids it will be more in Asia.
I see. So I saw a smile when I was saying a fashion device initially. So can you tell us more about the story? You began your idea when it was a Kickstarter. What was it exactly for Omate and for the smartwatch?
So our first product, it was really a coincidence of business. Like we were designing smartphones. We were like, and we're still today like Android experts, and that's where we come from. So that's our DNA. Then we created, we started working on a project called Outdoor Mate, and which was kind of a sport watch. Um, that you can wear where you cannot bring your expensive smartphone. So in 2013, that was the very beginning of the people having this kind of phablet, like big smartphones that we all have today, like over 5 inch. And even at that time, like iPhone was still a relatively small phone, like it was a 3.5 inch screen. And so yeah, yeah, something like that, like iPhone 4, yeah. And then it was also the beginning of the smartwatches. So we decided to create this outdoor made project to like try to sell it to our B2B customers, and no one really saw the value of it, or say, oh, it's too complex, or it's not yet ready, etc. So we say, okay, let's we use the F word. We say, okay, let's do it. And we from outdoor made we created Omate, and we our first, because we had to give a name to that. That was our company name, to that little device, which was like a rugged watch, a smartwatch, 3G watch at that time. And we decided to call it the True Smart, because compared to the other smartwatches, it did not need to be paired over Bluetooth. It could be smart by itself by connecting it to the network with through a SIM card. So that was really unique. It was a world first pure Android smartwatch. We had Google looking at us like, hey, what are you doing? You are not allowed to do this. You cannot do that. And anyway, we launched it on Kickstarter. And very quickly we raised $1 million. So that was like, the $1 million is not that important, but the most important was the 5,000 users. And we were used to deal with our B2B partners, like it's about like, you have to deal with 10 customers or 12 customers or something like that. And is there a large company or a small and medium enterprise? But here we had 5,000 and we were becoming a consumer brand. That was totally new game for us, and we did pretty good because we delivered all, not everything on time, but honestly quite well. At least we delivered all of them, and it was a good experience to become like suddenly having the spotlight from the press or from the consumer side, and very quickly I understood we were not very legitimate on the sports segment. You have the Polar, you have like the, like Garmin, you have all this very great company doing very good sport, which is the Fitbit, etc. So we also understood that what we were doing was very geeky, exactly what we were representing actually. So, and we also, at the same time, the other companies, they were just starting maybe 6 months, a year after. You have like the Apple Watch, you have Google coming with their version of Android Wear. So it was time for us to differentiate, and that's why we were thinking like, okay, technology is what you carry, but fashion is what you wear. So, which is true. We were like, all these early devices were really designed by engineers, not with no taste of fashion. I mean, there was no fashion designer behind that. While the watch industry is much more like into style and into diversity of about your look and what you wear. So yeah, we did this little adjustment or pivot to move to fashion, and but that was too easy, because everyone did the same. Maybe 6 months later, the Apple, the Google, they all came with also some fashion partnership and much bigger than what we could do. So that's where it led it led us to move to our wearable as a service that we do today, and I'm very happy about it because that allow us to survive in that world.
As a Kickstarter, what did you emphasize on for people to spend basically $200? Because if I count right, 1 million, you raised $1 million, you got 5,000 people, so it's about $200. It's not a small amount. They have to trust you. You don't have the product. What did you sell for them to buy? I understand it was a SIM card. It was right. You insert a SIM card on the in the watch, which is not connected to Bluetooth. So it's basically you can go out with only your watch, not with your phone. With the iWatch, you still have to connect both of them, if I understood well. But what else do you provide? I see that you can provide emergency call. You can, maybe it was not the initial, actually feature. You can see the clock, of course, the time. But what was the initial value proposition?
Well, see, it's more about we have to think back in the context. We're in 2013, so it's 6 years ago. There is no real smartwatch at that time. There are only a few brands like the guys like Pebbles. They were doing like a e-ink, black and white Bluetooth watch was very good. They were like Fitbit doing this kind of like Fitband, which were also like very basic, like just giving you like steps and the time and steps and notification. What we were bringing to the table with the TrueSmart was really revolutionary. We were putting like almost like a smartphone on your wrist, so you could run almost any kind of app you wanted. That was not the intention, but it was more like a developer edition. So that's why we could capture at that time like the developer community, like Android developer community. Many people like us, actually, maybe people like Omate engineers, where we were like engineer, Android software-based people. So people, they could check about I guess that's it worked for us is they could see that we were really involved in the industry, in the mobile phone design industry. So I was not coming from another industry, right? So I was not like, I don't know, from the oil and gas industry and suddenly decided to do like a like a wearable with Android. We were people who were already pretty involved in that environment. So we had that credibility, and I think that helped to gather some buyers, some backers, to support our project on Kickstarter at that time.
You believe that people who buy on Kickstarter are that geeky, basically? They will look at your profiles, they will understand where you come from, and they will trust you because who you are, and more than the product you describe?
No, it's not definitely the product, but I think if you look behind the product, you look at the team, you look at how we communicate. We were really B2B guys. We are not B2C people. So we were not a consumer brand. We were like a small startup. We raised $1 million when we were just a 6 months old company. So we just had a prototype. We invested our own money. So they could see that we had a working prototype. And then the press, it's thanks to the press. Like we had no PR, we had no, no influencers, if you want. Like we did not know anything about that. Like I guess it did not really even exist at that time. Yeah, it's like a snowball effect. After I think the first day we raised $100,000, we reached our goal after half a day, and after 30 days of our campaign, yeah, we got $1 million. But that's a long time ago, and we had also a very small budget on marketing. Like we had zero budget, and we just had a video. This is not possible today. No, we do. When we launch a new product in limited edition, we do it very differently. But we it's totally different today. Like it's much more professional when you launch a Kickstarter or Indiegogo nowadays. Much more.
How much did you have to invest to get a prototype back in 2013 from your own money?
We invested about me and my partner at that time. I mean, Jack and I, we spent 50,000 each. So it was already an investment of 100,000 US dollar. But that project was in the pipe for us to sell to other company. So it's just because we could not find anyone to invest or to launch the project in production. But the prototype was half done. We had like like some wires. Like I'm still into this 6 years after. I'm still into that. So I mean, we have like this kind of a prototype phase, and it was like what we call in a pilot run number 2 when we announced it. Then we did a pilot run, and after we did the mass production. So yeah, the backers or 5,000 backers help us to move to production. But I was not feeling it was that big at the time, and still today. I mean, it was great, but it was more like the most important was not like the amount of money, was really like the fact that suddenly we had like a community and people looking at our product.
How easy was it to find the factories, the producer to work with? How many producers did you meet? How many did you work with? Could you describe a bit more about the challenges and on the opposite, maybe it's easier than what people expect?
Yeah, so from our side, it's very special. I was there already, like so 2013. That was already 6 years. I was in Shenzhen, and I had multiple like factories I was working with for phones, and so it was very easy for us. And that's probably the part which we're giving the most credibility to our audience, is because they could check that I was already delivering like products in the past, that be from working with Philips, working with some carriers, operators worldwide. So we had this expertise for a long time. So for me, that was not that was an advantage. We had a factory, we had all our supply base, all the components we were using. They were all qualified by us. So it was very different than people who are designing for probably in the US or Europe a device, and then it's like a nightmare because they arrive in Shenzhen, they want to assemble the product, and it's a death valley for them. But that was a big advantage for Omate, is that we have already that in place.
Were you speaking Chinese with them? Or you were speaking in English? Or could you describe a bit more about how it's working when you were working with them for your own product, which is a bit different from when you work for a big company, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we deal with Chinese manufacturer, international people. All our contracts are in English, so this is a very standard process.
Okay, but when you move from a big company, I think that's interesting for people to listen to us. You move from a big company who is well known among factories and so on, and you move to being an entrepreneur, to have one prototype. How do the factories react to that? Are they willing to help? As the opposite, as some of them dropped actually with you? Did you have some difficulties?
No. Again, we had, it's just about like the network. So, after some years, no, that makes 12 years. So obviously, you have, everyone has his own core business, his own expertise, some his own credibility in the market. And after, it's just about, especially when you come with $1 million order. I mean, not $1 million order, but at least with 5,000 units to manufacture. It's not too hard, like to have the people to get interested, or to,
Yeah.
because after they don't see, people are smart. People see it like, yeah, this 5,000 is just beginning. Maybe this will move to 1 million units. Maybe that will become the next GoPro. So it did not, but But I have a friend who signed GoPro at the very beginning. He signed like just to make the tooling, and the same. It was like this American guy doing like this, like little funny camera, and they just manufacture that. And after it became like crazy story. Now he's dropping down, right? We all know that GoPro is not the GoPro that was like 5 years ago, but I can tell you for 5 years they did like crazy things, right? They moved to 1 million units almost a month. So that's all people say. Chinese people are very business oriented, so they are happy to, and especially in the press at that time, wearable tech, did not. It was very hot in 2014, I would say. 2015, many people, like, especially as soon as Apple came in the game and Google, as the Samsung and all the brands, it did not move as well as expected, but it was a new category. So yeah, people were excited to deal with one of the early bird of that segment.
A step earlier was a prototype, and at the prototype stage, how did the factories react to your request? Were you doing everything by yourself, and you didn't need a lot of factories? Basically, you were assembling yourself a prototype, or you had to deal with factory already?
Now, for prototyping, like we had our own workshop. We are supported by the chipset manufacturers, like to provide some early engineering samples of chipset, and we could assemble. Then we have like the what we call the SMT, the solder mounted technology, where you can basically build your boards. And at the same, we got some good support from our partners. So no, prototyping is not. It's more like debugging the software. This takes a long time. Hardware-wise, we were very advanced at that time. So yeah.
I see. I see. So you have three segments: kids, lone workers, seniors. Could you tell us what do they look for when with your product specifically? I see there is a button, red button to ask for help, I believe.
Mhm.
But what's the value of your product compared to iWatch? I have an iWatch here right now. What's the value of your
Mhm.
product compared to the iWatch?
Well, the Apple Watch is different, like in a way that it's really focused on everyday everyone, and it's mainly connected to your smartphone. So it's a kind of a more complex ecosystem. Um, while what we do is very focused on this specific segment. So there are different niche segments, like the kids, as you mentioned, is really like with a very cute user interface, and very focused on some, for example, video call. You can send like some voice audio messaging, and your location in case of an emergency. And this will only communicate with an app. So what we do is that actually when we integrate a SIM card, you don't want your kids to receive SMS or people to be able to call directly your kids. So we turn off all these features and we only connect to data. And now our next announcement actually at CES will announce we are integrating a new technology to get rid of the SIM card, but only to communicate with data over the chipset. So this is really revolutionary for what we are doing on that segment, and on the three segments it could actually would be applied. But we focus on really making like this device as an IoT product, and it's pure IoT device. And for the senior, when you press the button, then it's a very similar, service, but it's a pro version, like the professional version, because it will connect, and the same goes for the lone worker. It will connect to call center, and that call center, based on an emergency, for example, the grandmother or the grandfather who have this, this watch at his wrist, and if anything happen, anytime, anywhere, you can press the button, and then we will extract the GPS location. We'll call back with a video call, and according to what the wearer is speaking or not, we can also take the vital sign, like like the heart rate or etc. And based on that, we can really trigger an action. So that can be calling an ambulance, bring like we have a white list of people which are safe to contact. So it can be the neighbor, it can be someone in the surrounding, etc., etc. So it's really a customized service for the senior. While for the kids, it would be more like a generic communication device. But once again, these are very different to the Apple Watch. And also when Apple Watch, I think Apple Watch is coming on it's the valuable segment is the senior. So they are going after this segment with kind of a premium service. But the price of an Apple Watch is still and it's still linked to an iPhone. So the complete package plus the service become very pricey. We try to make it much more affordable. I think that's why our partner team up with us. We are happy they are also selecting Apple Watch in their package, but usually people will select our watch because it's way more affordable, and our complete service is is less pricey.
When you talk about senior people, do you sell to those nursing homes, those hospitals, or do you sell directly to the children of those senior people who are buying for those senior people, and then can be in touch with them in case of issues? Is it a B2B business or the B2C business?
Yeah, that's a good question. Is on For the senior and the lone worker is purely B2B. So we will team up with people who already have like this kind of ecosystems. They are working in that. So insurance company are very good. They are very smart people, and they have already this kind of data of related to the age of the people and people who could be interested in that. Um, the B2C side of it, there are some people who will be interested, I guess, to buy, but that would be to buy a senior smartwatch. But that would be very similar to the kid watch, where it would become like more like a free application. It's very hard. I'm based in Shenzhen. Would be very hard to sell a watch in the US, for example, and to have someone phoning and after which call center will it call it back in Shenzhen, and I have 20 people here to listen 24 hours to what happened. So that won't work. So it's really like for this kind of service needs to be local or at least national, as local as possible. I would say per state, or in the US or a country. In France, it works very well that way with Arkea, for example. It's an insurance company. Or in Germany and UK with Safe Motion, they are doing a great job as well. And these are people who can provide this kind of call center service. Medical Guardian in the US as well, one of the leaders in that field, and they offer a watch with the service because they can operate the call center behind and the end of the service.
The insurance companies work with nursing homes, with hospitals, and they would provide your watch. They would make the hospitals, nursing homes buy your watch and then provide the service behind it, the support service. How does it work? I see there are different parties involved here.
Yeah, so after, when we deal, for example, with an insurance company, and after they can resell the watch to other insurers or brokers or nursing homes, hospital, etc. The way is that we will integrate hardware and software, and we will customize it according to which partners they will sell. And after, the service will be customized as well on their side. So it's B2B business model, and I would say up to B2B to B2C. So
Okay.
it can be like a long way before it goes to the end user, but that doesn't matter. At the end, what we want is for them is to have like the most professional and like the best service possible.
So how far do you go into the service? I understand for the hardware, you build the hardware fully, entirely, the watch. But what about the software? You are building your software on your watch on Android. I believe you can already use some apps delivered by all the companies, developers on Android. But what do you provide with your team of software developers on top of that for those insurance companies, which are certainly asking for customized softwares? Because I don't believe they would want to go to another company, develop with other people at the same time with you as the hardware. How does it work for the soft part of it?
So yeah, it's a combination of talents. So everyone has his own core business. Basically, we are open to many kind of businesses, business case. So if in some cases, like people have a very strong, robust software, or it's already integrated into their platform. So we will merge that. So we will integrate into our baseline software development software, and then otherwise we can open our source code, and then they can build directly on the root of the device. It also happens in other cases, so it really depends. We are very open. On the kit side, we offer a full turnkey solution. We are even integrating like the connectivity. So again, in this world, in what we are doing in our industry, you must be flexible to be able to to gain some market shares and to launch your product. So that's our philosophy. We work with talents, and everyone has his core business. Everyone can bring his own part to the table.
I go back to the comparison with the iWatch. The iWatch is pretty complicated. You have small icons with a lot of softwares. You have developed, we have download. Sometimes you don't even know you downloaded it, and you find it on your iWatch. And I believe indeed for senior people, it's a nightmare. It's difficult to watch, it's difficult to see, and they don't understand. There are too many things, too many items. So how does you structure the watch to be basically easy to be used by those populations which are kids, seniors, or people who are at work, who don't want to look for the app for 1 minute before finding it. They need immediately to get the right app.
Yeah. Yeah, so we try to bring simplicity to complexity, and that's a challenge. So what we do, we offer very, especially for seniors, is really unique. What we do, in a way that it's very powerful device. It's a 4G Android based a device, is as almost as powerful as your as a smartphone, and what we do in terms of user interface, we give them very low, like in terms of user experience, it's super easy. First, you have like the watch face, so you can press the black button, you will see like a watch display, just to give you the time. And especially the seniors most of them have been wearing a watch all over their life. So it's very convenient for them. Like, I mean, everyone wants to, most of the people who are using our watch in the senior community, they do not even have a smartphone. So for them, the watch is like, it's a watch, it's a timepiece. And after, the red button would just be the emergency. So all the software will be running in the background. They will not interact with any other things. There are some of our partners who want to provide more things, especially for some type of user who are probably younger generation, like in their, I don't know, like 60s, 70s, who are still very active and still up to date, and they want to have, like, for example, like the weather or this kind of information. But we try to have like the heart rate, or we can provide all this information, or pills reminders, to take the medicine. But my favorite software or wearable as a service that we offer is really the ones who are following the less is more, philosophy, in a way that it's straight to the point, and it's super easy to use, and there is no frills, no extra. You just focus on the mission. So it depends. Again, we follow what our customer want, but it's definitely not as geeky as True Smart was 6 years back. Like which was like really crazy, like 10 times more crazy than an Apple Watch today. I think Apple Watch do a great job in terms of user experience, but the True Smart was just like it was full craziness, right? You could load any APK from Android. So basically, there were some people putting games on it. You could put YouTube, you could put Facebook on it if you want. So it was really, really crazy. For the seniors, we try to make it as simple as possible. So less is more is part of our philosophy.
So what you're providing for seniors is a watch they have always worn to see the time, and you are adding basically a phone, and you are adding an emergency call, and you are adding a camera, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So the main features will be like GPS, 4G, video call, but all combined together with one mission. So you have a watch, of course, the timepiece. You press a button just to turn it on, and to save battery life, you can see like can display like the time and some basic information, the date if you want. And then when you press the red button, again, it will turn on the 4G module. It will extract your GPS location, and it will trigger a video call with a call center. So these three features all together, we can triangulate like your location, and we can see so where you are, if you are able to speak, if you can explain the situation, and even if you, let's say, you press by mistake, it's fine. It's part of the service. You know, the service you pay on a monthly basis. So the call centers will just say, "Hey, you just press on the button. What's the matter?" And this loudspeaker over the loudspeaker, and then people will watch at the device, and they will just say like, "Oh, I just made a mistake. Okay, fine, no problem. Have a good day. Goodbye." And so it's really like almost like a concierge service, where for any emergency, it's like your freedom angel on your wrist.
Does it take also some data on your body, like heartbeat, like pressure, whatever it could do, to send actually to the insurance company and say, hey, maybe there will be a problem soon?
Yeah, that's really what everyone is investing in. That's the grail is really like to get like all this kind of information, and to, instead of becoming like an emergency device, you become like a preventive emergency device. But you know, you want to avoid also like false alert, or it's a really complex work. But definitely this is where we are investing in the next few years, in terms of R&D to integrate some algorithm which can be combined with some of our hardware. It can be like definitely the first one is a heart rate monitor. The heart rate monitor can provide you a lot of information. Then you need to combine them with some algorithm, and then to analyze this data, and finally to extract when there is this data to you know, like to give a diagnostic which is accurate. This is not yet the people we are targeting. It's a niche in the niche. It's a very valuable niche in the niche business wise, because that's we are very happy if we can save lives that way. Today we do it more like you know, the people, you know, especially the seniors. The main issue is that after some when you reach some certain age, you have a highly chance like to fall. And when you are alone and you fall, and you are still conscious, this is like almost 90% of the time. And every day we have like total, no, we have over 50,000 units worldwide in use. And these people, you know, every day we have some people pressing that button. So every day we have like some people triggering like this emergency, and that's what is pushing us like to innovate, to be like, could we predict that? It's not that easy. fall, you cannot really predict fall, right? So then the heart disease or the chronic disease, this is kind of a different business, but it's a very interesting way. It's probably a younger audience as well, with people who are at risk, especially heart disease. Patients as well, which are coming out of an operation, for example, out of hospital, where you could you could offer that watch for several weeks as a preventive device. But again, this is it's kind of a different. There are many people working on that. We are part of them as well.
I see. I see. You talk about in the document you sent to us about Omate. You talk about a design to production time of 6 months. Is it what's usual time it takes to initiate a new product, a new version of the watch?
Well, yeah, that would be ideally from design to engineering. That's our typical process. After, obviously, we have like all our design. Actually, we only make our own design internally. So we don't really build for others. It happens time to time that people ask for adjustment, etc. It's kind of complicated. We do it, but because it becomes complex when you have more party involved and different like kind of what we used to say here in the Greater Bay Area. We say like exotic components, like components which are not or too new or not easy to source locally. And here we are the best place to source any consumer electronics components or mobile phone design, IoT components in the world. So it's a hardware Silicon Valley, so it's super easy. But somehow when you add some different components, that can also increase the time, of design from 6 months to 9 months to 1 year, and which are more common to I would say in the West. When we design a product, the design phase would take like from design to engineering to production would take more to 1 to 18 months, 1 year to 12 months to 18 months. In Shenzhen, we can go very, very fast. So that's the point about probably about that slide.
I'd like to go back on the new product you are going to launch soon. If I understand correctly, you told me that this device, this watch, will not need anymore a SIM card, and it will still be connected to telecom and to the internet. Could you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so this is it's something we will announce later, but it's okay. I can share with you. It's fine. It's about you probably heard about. So you know that the SIM card has been shrinking down to, we had these big SIM cards in the 10 years ago. Then it went to we had this mini SIM card, and then we got this micro SIM card, and now in your Apple Watch or even in your iPhone. The new iPhone, there is something called the eSIM, which is still an electronic, a component. Is a tiny component. It's a 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter. It's very good in terms of integration, but it's still a component, and it's a component where is linked to operators, and like any SIM card is linked to a network, is linked to an operator. That's why when you buy a SIM card, you have the name of the operator on it. And it makes it very difficult for IoT product to have to run with SIM cards. It's very hard to mass produce and to make it a global product very easily, because
And
it
one more
needs to have a
thing,
SIM card.
sorry to interrupt, but it's adding a cost to the customer because they need to buy a new SIM card and they need to buy a new plan, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why IoT people were not very good yet to sell products, because this product move with a service, but in between the enabler of the service, you need to have a SIM card. And if you don't provide the SIM card, that's really destroy your whole business model. So for many years, we have been trying to figure out how we can like bundle with a SIM card, and to have like a SIM card which is like very, like regionally friendly, worldwide friendly. So we did several experiments, And finally, now there is a new technology called virtual SIM card. One of the leader is actually the MiFi leader. Like this kind of portable Wi-Fi modules that you can use and as a hotspot for when you are traveling. So one of the leaders is called Skyroam. It's a great company based in the US and in Shenzhen. And we are teaming up with them. Yeah, we are going to launch something where we integrate their virtual SIM card into a wearable, and we believe that will be a game changer because we will offer this virtual SIM card service. So the device will work out of the box immediately. And more importantly, it will be like kind of a global roaming. So it will use like a local network wherever it is in the world. So we will start first in most likely in the US, but step by step we will be able like to explore other countries, other region, other continent, by offering the same device and which can connect directly out of the box. So we remove one step for the people to directly use of our device.
So virtual SIM card, it reminds me a service that Stripe is offering, which is a virtual IBAN. So basically you have your IBAN from your bank, and then you rent an apartment and you want to know this money comes from the person who is renting your apartment, and you are going to give them a virtual IBAN, which is actually to be linked to this person. Is it similar that the virtual SIM card, is it that you have your own SIM card, but you can demultiply actually the location of the SIM card with a virtual SIM card? Or is it the hardware which has actually, let's say, a centralized SIM card, and you have on each item of the hardware a virtual SIM card? Could you detail a bit more about the technology?
Well, I'm not sure about the Stripe or on the banking system, but what we are doing on this virtual SIM card is really it will just provide kind of a local number, but it will change automatically because we're only using data. So data is no number. There is no phone number. Again, you cannot receive SMS, MMS, phone call. Everything will go through our application. Just like we do with WhatsApp call or when we do like a WeChat in China. So it will communicate with the phone, the smartphone, as like the master for the kids, and the watch. The watch will have this virtual SIM card where it will be able to connect any network. But the beauty of it can detect according to the GPS location or the tower location. It will connect to the strongest network. And this is a game changer because especially for emergency devices or what we call like the PRS, like a personal emergency responsive service, like this kind of device, is very important to have a very strong connectivity anytime, anywhere. So using this virtual SIM card, it will just connect to the closest tower. So you will always have, suddenly you can connect to one operator, and in the afternoon you can, in the morning, and in the afternoon you can connect to another one, depending on where you are. And without affecting your cost, because all this cost, we will pre-integrate that cost into the device. So our goal will be to offer an unlimited data connection to our end user, and
But
that's
you have a
we believe will
cost.
be a changer.
You bear
So
the
we will
monthly
take care of the
cost.
cost.
Yeah, you bear the monthly cost. Basically,
Yeah,
you could sell a
it won't be a
product.
monthly cost. Yeah, we want to avoid the monthly revenue, so it looks beautiful like that, right? You have a monthly revenue, but for IoT devices, doesn't really work this way. Again, you don't want the people to have like the trouble to think like, okay, I bought this device like $100. That sounds good. It's a great device. I like it. Oh, and after every month, I will have $10 per month. But at the end of the year, this is $120. Is actually more than the cost of your device. So what we want to integrate is by negotiating with more units, we can provide a better price and we can integrate into that price. So if I tell you like, instead of $100 US, I offer you $129 US, but it's like unlimited. I think this is a game changer.
But how do you do it? The product is used for 10 years. How can you support the service for 10 years?
Now we will, of course, there will be like any unlimited things, like which there is kind of a limit, which we still have to have like a fair usage of the service. So I believe we will start with a 1 year service, where we will say like we provide like a 1 year unlimited service, use it as much as you like, and after 1 year you can contact us back. You can say like, okay, I want to top up. I want to top up to get another 1 year, or no, I'm not using it enough. Maybe I will just buy a SIM card on the side, and it will still be open. Actually, we will still keep a SIM card slot for people who still want to use their own service, and also for B2B. Some people they have some deals with their like local operators, etc. So again, we are very open people. This is probably like a good summary of what we are and what we do. We are very open on business model, very business oriented. So that we must bring flexibility to prove that. That's what we do every day.
About financing Omate, you talked about Kickstarter. We started the conversation with that, and we fully understand how it works. But you also raised money from 500 startups, and at that time, maybe it was still Dave McClure. How did you raise money from them, and what was the need for raising money? Because you had already the money from the Kickstarter.
Well, that was 4 years ago. So yeah, Dave was still on board. Basically, we got like a lady. I got connected to Ruema, which she was at that time like in charge of some investment at 500. Then she left the company a few years later. But so Rue came to us in 2015, and she said, "Hey, I would like to know more about Omate. I know like." Y Combinator invested in Pebble, so 500. We are also looking for a wearable tech company, and I said, okay, why not? It was really like an opportunity, and for us was good to. It was also at the time we were exploring like the US market.
When
We
was
were
it?
in that fashion time, 2015. So we were like just like 18 months. Just like 18 months company, like really running company, and yeah, that was an experience. Like we stay like with the team, some part of the team. We stay like for 6 months in Mountain View at the 500 startup office. Again, it was great to see like a different different perspective. The market, the US market, many smart people around, but really into software and internet, less into hardware. So yeah, great experience, just like an opportunity, like many others.
I see on Crunchbase. I was googling Omate on Crunchbase. I mean, I was looking for Omate on Crunchbase, and I see you raised like 217.8 K USD. 500 start. I don't know if the number is right. That's what we can see on Crunchbase. And usually 400 startups, they give like $50,000 for the prototype. You already had the prototype. You already had a Kickstarter with $1 million in the bank account. So what was it used to be with a 500 startup?
Now 500 made an offer actually. So usually they invest like in the 7% per startup. They invested a bit less into us, but for a similar amount of money. Then at the same time, it was like maybe 3 months later, after we went out of the batch of which we were batch 13, and we did like a new crowdfunding. We did like the only, I think no one did that after that, but we did a Indiegogo. We did a 2-day campaign, and that 2-day campaign was we raised like I think $250,000. It was a limited edition of a new model, and we put 1,000 watches of our new model. And in 2 days, we we sold them out. So we just said we will do a 2-day campaign. And because we were moving our business model from B2C to become really B2B, and we said like, okay, no, you see, we sold in 2 days we sold like this 1,000 units, and this is limited edition, $250 per unit. So we got like $250,000 several days later. That was the turning point to say Omate will become an expert of designing products and teaming up with other people. So no, we always do that. We always launch a product. We do limited edition because we still want to give like our early the kind of community or people who want to buy a product at the very beginning, and they want to be the first, and they want to be like a kind of part of the pilot. And we will always offer like 1,000 limited edition. And because it's not our business to do B2C, we give them a great deal. We give them like really make them VIP. And after we move our business to B2B. So that means like distributor would contact us and say, okay, I would take another 3,000 units. I would take 5,000 units. I would take 10,000 units in that country.
I see. So that's your process. You run a campaign first.
Yeah.
On a kind of Indiegogo, Kickstarter, maybe JD sometime in the future, and then after you have the product, and businesses can see you. Actually, they can even come to you to buy your product, and then you have certainly a different kind of agreement, pricing, and customization, because you insist on customization on your presentation for the businesses which buy your product.
Yeah, exactly.
It's your shop.
Yeah, it's kind of B2C to B, right? So you launch your product and you announce it as a consumer company, and you say, hey, we make a proper press release, we announce a product, and we say, you know what, there is a very limited edition. So after people sometimes are very frustrated, they contact us several weeks after and say, I want to buy it, and we say, sorry, it's sold out. And say, but your website is always sold out. I say, yeah, because we only launch like maybe 1 or 2 products a year. So we have very limited units for end users. And after that, and again, we really try to make these people VIP, because for us, it's very important. Like, they have a great experience. If anything, for example, went bad to our quality control and there is 1 unit, people receive and it doesn't work, we just tell them like, okay, don't worry, keep it. We send you immediately a new one. It's free. And don't worry. We really try to bring this amazing experience to people, that we will not let them down. But we can only do that we can even, I will not say like we lose money, but we try to be just break even on that. We just try to make these people happy, but we can only do that on the limited edition. Afterwards, we can also demonstrate to our B2B customers that, look, there are already like some users. They can bring back some ideas, and we can customize, we can do it better, and we can say, look, these people look pretty happy with the product. So, it's easy also to demonstrate that the product is doing well, and that they can start in their own market to get the exclusivity on their market, and then we can support them locally.
I see. Very, very interesting, and very efficient strategy, because basically you don't have to spend that much in marketing, and your marketing is actually making you earn a bit of money, even if you say you are breaking even on those limited edition. Thank you very much, Laurent, for your time. Actually, it was so interesting that we didn't go through the usual 10 questions at the end of the interview, because we had enough to talk about with all your entrepreneurship stories. Yeah. Thank you very much again. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope everyone who listening to us has enjoyed as well the talk. Bye-bye, everyone.